You have like these different like just dead end arms that they can load rail cars in. Okay, one of those two things are going to happen, right? But let's say you can hold like, it's called 50 cars. Regardless of the way you're doing it, you can hold like 50 cars here. Okay, so what happens is at any given time for your sales and operational planning of your whatever you're doing, let's say you can make 10 rail cars a day. So you have 10 that are in holding, 20 that are in holding, 10 that are loaded, ready to go, 10 that are in the process of being loaded. So your guys that are in manufacturing plant are always like doing that, right? So the operational planning of this is very important. About, let's call it like hopefully like 50 miles away, you have your class 1 railroad will probably have some sort of holding track, right? And this holding track, can hold anywhere, I don't know, like 200 cars, something like that, because it's for like a lot of different people that are in that area. And if you're lucky, you have this holding track that's relatively close. So what the rail car does every day, I mean, you guys live close to the road, Bentonville Road. I mean, every morning, 6 a.m., why the hell is the thing going? Because they're always moving, they're always going. They want to keep the locomotive running. So what they'll always plan to do is they say, hey, listen, I know this guy, I know his sales and operational planning. I'm always going to be going there once a week, picking up the 10 rail cars or whatever they want to do. So they're bringing the empties back, picking up the 10 that you've notified to them that they need to come pick up, and then they go out, right? And I'll go through and talk about how disastrous this becomes at some point, okay? Then you have the long haul, right? Let's say, you're going across the country and you have, just wherever, you're going 2,000 miles, okay? This is really what you're paying for, is where it's going, and it can take however much time you want to do it. Now, similarly to this, you probably have a holding track, within 50 to 100 miles of wherever you're going, all right? And then you have wherever it's going, which again, they have, they have either a loop track or they have one of these things, right? All right. Let's talk about, so that would be the typical supply chain. They go in, if this all works perfectly, it goes in, they drop them off, they have empties because your customers are emptying them, right? So now they have empties here, they pick up the empties, and on the way back, they go there, whatever, right? This thing takes like 20, 30, probably 45 to 60 days for the full round trip and do everything, get back to you, and everything runs great, okay? Except it doesn't run great. It's very, very complex, and it sucks really bad. So what happens here is it never runs perfectly. They give you a window of like, they'll say we can get it there in 15 to 20 days, barring anything else happening. It never happens. That never happens because there's a lot of variables. You have other more priority lanes. You have things that get caught up. Maybe it gets one of your cars gets, well, here, let's talk about this too. So throughout this way, let's say you're only sending 10 cars, okay? That's truly like the manifesto. You're going to be hooked up, and you've seen it when you're stuck on a plane. You got cars in some of them. You got like, cows getting moved. I mean, there's a ton of things, because I'm just small customer A. I'm doing 10 cars a week. Mm-hmm. Well, right down the street from you is a Toyota plant, and what they do is they put together things called a unit train, and a unit train is 75 plus cars, okay? And it can be 150 cars. And you've all been stuck behind that one too, where it's like, when is this thing going to end? And it's all the exact same thing. Well, that's a unit train. That gets priority on the rail. It always gets priority. So that unit train, basically what it'll end up doing is they'll say, everything else, your little 10 cars will get sidetracked, right? And that's where that term comes from. It'll literally go onto a sidetrack along the way to let those other more priority trains go through. And when you get sidetracked, sometimes it gets lost, or you'll get sidetracked for a while. And so you'll see online that your car's like, why is my car in Omaha, Nebraska, and it's been there for 2 days? It's because it got sidetracked and there's something else going on there, or maintenance or something, and there's no priority.
And they're paying while it's sidetracked.
Well, no, you're not paying any more.
Okay.
You're not incurring demurrage, which I'll talk about in a bit.
Okay.
But you're just not getting it there on time.
Right.
But this is why it matters. So think about that. So let's say in your rail car fleet, you have 200 cars. You got 50 here, 50 there, and 100 that are in the middle, right? your production guys don't want to stop producing. And you're hoping that your customers are going to keep picking up. But where this starts getting really confusing is, let's say you got 100 cars here in the middle that are going back and forth. You got a few in this yard here. And you have a big customer that says, you know what, I'm going to pick up 30 rail cars. I'm going to pick up 30 rail cars worth of product, unload it, and get it into that, and then I'm going to free up all those cars. So what am I doing here? I'm saying, well, okay, I got 30 rail cars that are going to be picked up next week. I got to replenish that. So I'm going to ship 30 extra rail cars over here on top of the 10 I'm already sending. So you got 40 rail cars coming here. This loop track only holds 50 cars. Okay? So I got 40 cars over there. By the way, there's 4 different customers there. There's 4 different other people shipping stuff there. Okay? So somebody else's might not be moving things. But anyway, so you got 40 cars coming, right? And it's it's right here. Those 40 total cars are right there, about to come in. And this customer says, hey, wait, can't pick it up. It's going to be 2 more weeks. Something happened. Well, now you have a really big problem, because now you have 40 rail cars. The locomotive's not able to move, so guess who's paying for that? You're paying for that. It's called demurrage. Then you have those 30 cars are supposed to go there. So now you have 70 cars. Now your production guys are saying, I need some cars back here, guys, because I got to keep making this product. We got nowhere to put it. And so the production guys come back and they're like, we need rail cars. And you're like, customer, pick up your rail cars, because, meanwhile, you're incurring daily demurrage of $75 to $150 per car per day. So you're spending $7,000 a day on cars, they're just sitting there. And then the rail car, now the railroad gets kind of pissed off at you, and they're saying, listen, move those cars out of there, get it sold, or we're going to shut you down. And when they shut you down, it's called an embargo. And these double. And then, and they say, by the way, all these cars, and now you had like 40 other cars that were behind this one, we're shipping them back full. You're going to pay for them again. We're not letting anything else come into our holding yard, and we're not letting anything else come into there, because you can't even get rid of what you got, and now you're screwing us over, so we're going to screw you over. And not only have you screwed you over, you screwed over everyone else in that area that's utilizing that area too. Now they're incurring demurrage costs, because their cars can't get in there because you don't know how to do your sales and operational planning process, and your customers are screwing you over. You're not going to have your customers pay for it, but this is where, Schlumberger, they paid like $200 million in 2014 in demurrage costs alone.
Wow.
I mean, it was crazy. So in the oil and gas market, you can see where this was very difficult with frac sand, because they didn't really know when they were going to need it, but they were like, they needed to buy it, they needed to secure it, but it might be tomorrow, and they might push it out a week. There might have been an issue geologically, there might have been an issue, and it just was nonstop. So while it looks very easy and flexible, because hey, you can make it anywhere, send it anywhere, you got like, hey, round trip and what, it's very, very complex.
Sure.
So with ours, so that's how that works. It's
It's the manifest system.
Yeah, which is, again, it's constant changes.
And this is, how common is this to where it reaches the embargo stage?
You don't want to get a lot of embargoes, but I mean, I've been a part of a few of them. So I mean, demurrage is very common. Embargoes are just really, really bad. But they were all over the place when oil and gas went through the floor. People weren't picking up sand, and so hopefully what we always did is we had like silos here. So at least you could unload your rail cars into silos and then get them out of there. But most people didn't do it. They just stored them in the rail car. So just get a big loop track, and then what happens is now they're sending these back, but you're like, well, shoot, we don't want them back there full, so I'm going to ship them my other one over here. Well, that one wasn't ready for it either. So this ends up being this huge balancing act. And you're talking about multiple different inventory items as well. You're talking about different sizes, different products, different things. So it's like you can't even mix them. So it's like, it's very, very difficult, convoluted, and hard. Ours is much simpler. So when you walk, if somebody has ever experienced that and you say, I'm going to give you the most flexible option in the world here, to where you can ship them anywhere, they don't pick them up, not a big deal. You still ship more there. Or you can just put them back on the train and ship them somewhere else. If your customer says, we don't want them, period, you're not screwed with them there, or like a silo or something like that. They can
offload it.
You just pick them up and go. And so when you talk about this, you're reducing complexity. While it feels like you're increasing complexity, you're reducing the complexity of the supply chain.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Perfect.
Very much so.